All right, my name is Raul Handa. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Fuel Intelligence. Intelligence because I'm intelligent. I'm kidding. So before we start, I'm sure you guys are wondering, you have no clue what I'm going to say, and neither do I. So before we move on to talking about why people are important, people over profit, I'm sure you all know that. I'm certain that you know that. But I'm here to remind you why people are important, people that you work with specifically. So before that, we're going to play a small game. Is everybody game to play a small game? Yeah. Okay. Can you all stand up, please? You may be wondering, why is this guy making us exercise? If you could all stand up so that everyone's, the blood's flowing and all the acupressure and whatever works is happening. Okay, so it's a simple game. I will not take more than 2 minutes. I know they're running late, and it already tells me that I've wasted a minute. So the first thing that we're going to do is, when I say start, everybody walks. Okay? Yeah, you just walk around. And when I say stop, you stop. The one who doesn't stop has to come and dance here or sing a song maybe. Okay? Yes? Yes? Okay, great. So, are you ready? Okay, start. Just walk around. Yeah, bump into each other. Okay, stop. Okay, start. Yeah, let's move it. Okay, stop. Okay, now let's turn the game. When I say start, you stop. And when I say stop, you start. Okay? Okay, start. Oh, somebody moved? You moved? Okay, all right. Okay. Okay, start. Stop. Start. 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 Stop. 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 Everybody stop. Okay, now, so the same rule applies. When I say start, you stop. When I say stop, you start. When I say sit, you stand. When I say stand, you sit. Okay? 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 All right, okay. Sit. Okay. All right. Start. Yeah, you right there. Okay. Stop. Start. Sit. Stand. Okay, perfect. Now let's start. So everybody's mixed up. People are sitting at different places. So I'm sure you'll pay attention. That was my aim. But if I told you to move around, you wouldn't have moved around. So first of all, let's give ourselves a huge round of applause. Thank you so much. Okay, so since we are at a marketing conference, it's important that I market myself, or else you won't listen to me. My name is Raul Handa. I've got about 2 decades of experience. I'm currently the CEO of a market research company that is into video-based market research, because obviously everybody's consuming videos. I saw that a lot of people were on their Instagram and watching Reels and TikToks and stuff like that. So that's what I do. Apart from that, I am a business consultant. I help companies scale. I do that in my free time. And in my role as the COO of a company that does video-based market research, I've realized that people are extremely important. It could be people you work with. It could be your clients. It could be your customers. It could be anybody, right? And that's what we're going to touch upon. Like I said, I'm certain that you guys know that this is the way to go. I'm only here to remind you. And obviously, feel free to, interrupt me and ask any questions if you have. All right, so profit with purpose. Why putting people first is the key to sustainable growth. How many of you are in an organization, or working rather, for an organization where you feel valued? Valued. You feel important. Okay. How many of you feel valued and important every day at work? Interesting. Please tell me which company you're working for. Now, the aim of me having this conversation with you guys is to let you guys know that it's easier to make people feel valued, right? I've been married for a really long time. My wife's watching, so I have to say this. But, every once in a while when I fight with her, I'll walk up to her and say, "Baby, I love you." Buy her roses, take her to a fancy restaurant in DIFC. I live in Dubai, but that happens every once in a while. I can't do that every day. Maybe I could, but I probably don't want to. But when it comes to the people that you work with, now, as part of my job, I work with large companies like Coke, Pepsi, J&J, P&G, Nestle, RB, right? We do a lot of video-based research for large FMCG companies. And the job that I do is very stressful. It's very, very stressful. Imagine, my team sits and watches videos every day, analyzing data, analyzing information. And sometimes it can get tedious. I personally believe, and I don't mean to offend people, but I feel that human intelligence will always remain. I mean, ChatGPT is there, but you need to tell ChatGPT what you want, right? Now, unless there comes another ChatGPT to tell the first ChatGPT what it wants, that's a different story. So let's start with, I don't know why it says Chan. I think there's a formatting issue. I apologize. So the changing dynamics of workplace. We talk about Gen Z. I see many of you are young at heart, or literally young. And then you wonder, what is it that is going to keep my employees with me? What is it that I can do to ensure that they stick around? Now, before I dwell into the details of this, I want to know how many of you have at least 2 to 3 employees that you have employed in your company? It could be, you could own the business, you could be a manager, you could be anybody. And how many times in a day do you tell them that you've done a good job? Once? Twice? Thrice? 4 times? The way we're functioning, or the way our mind tells us to be, is that we feel that if we appreciate our people too often, they're not going to do the work that they're supposed to do, which I personally don't agree with. The more we recognize the work that our people are doing, it could be average, it could be good, it could be great, you don't realize the kind of potential that your people can have on the work that you do. It could be somebody having maybe a will issue, where they have the skill, but they don't want to do the work. Or it could be somebody who has a skill issue. He's, energetic, he's loyal, he's committed, he wants to do it, but he doesn't have the right skill. That's the 2 kind of people you come across. Now, I've led companies with over 1,000 people in my career. And you may wonder, how is it that one person can manage 1,000 people? As a matter of fact, one can. And that's how we're going to talk about today. So, modern employees seek more than just a paycheck. That's why you have Google. You go to the Google office in San Francisco and they welcome you with a slide. It feels like you're at an IMG park, right? Fulfilling work, a positive environment, and growth opportunities are desired. Now, younger people tend to be less patient. Do you agree with me? Yes? Like you're waiting, when is this going to end? I need to have my lunch. I'm looking at the chicken and the rice, right? You're getting impatient. That's how we all are. Now, back when I was working, I'm not really old, so back when I was working is like about 10, 12 years ago, I had the privilege of working with startups back then, and I was able to grow. But I don't think that's possible with your companies or with every company where you get an opportunity to grow, where you can promote everybody every second year. That's not possible. What is it that you can give to your employees to make them feel valued, appreciated, and make them want to come to work every day. Does everybody realize that there's a big difference between want and need? Right? Yes? Do you guys want to walk again? Yeah. All right. So does everybody realize that there's a difference between want and need? The people who want to come to work every day are the ones that are going to work for you no matter what, versus the people who need to come every day because they've got a family, they've got bills to pay, etc. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. And lastly, addressing these expectations that will lead to attracting top talent. Now, understand the word expectation is a really strong word because expectations lead to disappointments. And that is one thing that I've worked with in my entire life. Now, if I were expecting a standing ovation here today, I'm going to get disappointed. But if I'm expecting that, I'm just going to stand here, I hope I don't sweat, my makeup doesn't wear off. Okay, yeah, we're there, right? So let's talk about the link between employee engagement and performance. Now, when it comes to engagement, I've seen this in Dubai. You have Cultural Day, India Day. You've got you take people for an offsite, and then people go and have fun, and someone has a little a small chat, and you feel that okay, I've done my engagement. Once a year, I take my people maybe to Bangkok or whatever works for your team, and I feel that I've completed my engagement. But that is actually not the case because today's people, they want to engage with you every day. Today's jobs are monotonous, right? They're repetitive. You're doing the same thing every day. And that's not going to, you can't be oblivious to the fact that the job that your people are doing can get boring and tedious at times. And that is why consistent and constant engagement is extremely important. So research shows strong correlation between engagement and organizational performance. Investing in employee well-being and developing drives sustainable growth, and engaged employees are more productive, loyal, and committed. Now, we know how the startup market is. Several layoffs. A lot of people are, being let go of, etc. But I'm yet to come across a single critical post on LinkedIn about Google or Amazon or YouTube or any of those big organizations where people were let go of. I have personal friends who've been laid off in these organizations. And even though they've been laid off, they're nothing but grateful. And believe me when I say that. They're nothing but grateful. What do you think Google or Facebook or all these, large corporations have done differently that even after their people were laid off at the middle of the night and, at 4 in the morning and their access was revoked and they were sent, emails, why do you think that they're still grateful for getting an opportunity at a Google or an Amazon or a Facebook? Think about it. Let it sink in. And that is because these people, or Google and Facebook, had their loyalty. That is what this engagement and all these exercises and the rewards and recognitions, everything that you do, that is why you do. It's so that you have the unwavering faith and trust of your employees with you. Now, you guys are marketeers. You take on difficult projects. I've heard a lot of you speak about, how difficult is it meeting sales targets, convincing clients, delivering, the client wants, he wants you to give you the popularity and take you to the moon, and you say, I can't take you to the moon, right? So when you undergo a lot of that stress, inevitably, that stress passes on to your employees as well, and that is why, it's extremely important for us to be able to keep our employees engaged. From my experience, marketing and business development are one of the most stressful jobs in the world. Do you agree with me? Do you agree with me? Do you agree with me? Yes? Why? It's because you're always on deadlines. You're always meeting targets, If you don't have work-life balance yourself, how is that going to give it to your employees? And that is what we're going to talk about, if I have time left. Valued, supported, and empowered employees exhibit higher levels of productivity. There's been a research that was done by Fortune magazine, which interviewed people or companies like Google, Meta, and they identified that after every engagement activity that Google or Meta or Alphabet, whatever you want to name it, these big companies did, productivity improved by 20 to 30% right after the engagement. Right after they did that engagement, productivity improved by 20 to 30%. And then eventually that excitement wears off, and then they're back to the same place that they were, which tells us a very important thing, that continuous and consistent employee engagement is extremely important. Enhanced employee retention and talent acquisition. How many of you know the concept of cost of replacement? The cost of replacement, you guys know, right? Okay, great. For those of you who don't, let's say you have a copywriter, for example, right? And he's a great guy. And he knows all your clients, you've worked with him for a really long time, and let's say he's just not happy and chooses to leave. The cost that you're going to have to bear in order to replace him is approximately 2 times more than the cost you would have to spend to keep him. Now, if you think about that, every employee that you have will automatically become valuable to you. Because when you realize that the cost of replacing that employee is a lot more than investing in engagement. Now, I know that we all work on tight budgets, and, we are doing the best possible things that we can, but I personally believe that engagement could be in any form. Like we just engaged in an activity, right? It took us 5 minutes. But this is a great way for you to bond with your team, have a conversation with them, have a chat with them. I usually recommend, every time we're scaling an organization, I usually recommend organizations that I consult with to let their team know of how the business is performing, right? Are we in the upward trend? Are we at the downward trend? So that your employees feel equally involved. You don't have to consult with them for business decisions, but at least keep them involved. And that has a significant impact in retaining your employees, because a lot of people leave jobs because of 2 reasons. 1 is because they're just not happy, and 2 is because of uncertainty. They're uncertain about what's going to happen. I go to work in the morning and, my laptop won't open, right? Or my boss calls and says, "Hey, how are you doing?" "I'm good." "Okay, thank you very much. You don't have to come to work from tomorrow." And that uncertainty that all of us are in, budgets are tight, there's a funding winter, which is, I don't know for how long it's going to last. In that period, in difficult times, is when, if you take your employees together, the ones that actually have your loyalty will stick around. They will stick around. Trust me when I say that, in my almost 2 decades of experience, they will stick around. Now, let's talk about fostering innovation and creativity. Valued and supported employees are more likely to come up and contribute towards ideas. They encourage risk-taking, collaboration, and open communication creates an environment for creativity. Organizations that prioritize their employees drive innovation and stay ahead of competition. And it's obvious, if you have your best employee, do you want him to go to your competition? No, right? What you want him to do is give them that freedom where they can take decisions on their own. And I know it's difficult at times that like I'm a control freak, right? I have obsessive compulsive disorder. I'm sure some of you may have figured it out by now. Yes, thank you. She's nodding her head. Yes. Right? I'm a perfectionist. And it's very difficult for me to let go of control. But imagine if I was taking every decision in my organization, which is large. In my previous organization, when I was managing 1,000 people, I had 27 vice presidents. Now imagine if I were taking every decision. All they would have to do is come to me and say, this is what I need. This is what I want. And for how long? For how long would you think they would do that? So my suggestion, obviously, is to pick people that you can trust, who you think are loyal, and give them an opportunity to take a call. Should we go with this post or this post? How do we handle this review? What do you think? This is what I think. I think a collaborative effort is extremely important because that is what is going to make your employees feel important a lot more than you taking them to Hawaii at the end of the year. Trust me when I say that. Okay. Sorry, I pressed the wrong button. Employee development and growth. If you can't offer your employees growth, what do you think is the next thing that you can offer them? If you can promote them or give them an exorbitant raise, what is it do you think you can offer them? Yes, you can train them. You can teach them because knowledge is invaluable. Do you agree with me? Right? Knowledge is invaluable. Whatever you've learned in your lifetime, you're teaching that guy. And he's going to appreciate that. He's going to respect that. And that is, if you can give them growth in terms of position, responsibilities, and help them grow with the knowledge that you have to share. You guys are veterans in your industry. You've been doing this for donkey years, right? And I think that if you spend 1 hour every day telling your colleague, you know why I took this decision, it's going to help him in the future, and he'll never forget you. Trust me when I say that, he'll never forget you. Work-life balance. It's a very touchy topic. I don't like talking about it. How many of you believe in work-life balance? Raise your hand. You're like, work-life, what is that? My work is my life. It's also my wife, both first and second. Yeah, honestly, how many of you believe in work-life balance? I believe in it. I believe in it. How many of you don't believe in the concept of work-life balance? Yeah, there you go. I've got some honest. It's okay, I'm not going to judge you. How many of you, those who raised their hand when they said, I believe in work-life balance, are actually able to apply that in their daily lives? Raise your hand. And how many of you who don't believe in work-life balance feel that their life is just, they're happy with what they're doing? Raise your hand. Now, if you noticed here, there's no right or wrong, to be honest. Now, the lady there in red, she believes that this is just bullcrap. There's no work-life balance. This is my business. I'm going to beat the shit out of my business. I'm going to get my clients what they want, right? I'm going to hustle. And it works for some people. For some people, I have a wife, I have a kid, basketball, swimming. You know, in Dubai, you got to take them to Dubai Mall every weekend, do that ice skating thing, right? That's your life. No, it isn't. So there's no right or wrong here. It's okay to be a workaholic because I am, and probably my wife is nodding while she's watching this. We just had a fight yesterday about the fact that I work a lot. I am. But what I'm trying to imply here is what works for me may not work for you. And I come back to my point. Expectations lead to disappointments, guys. Remember that. If you expect your employee to work with the same vigor, to not care about it's a Saturday or a Sunday, you are going to be disappointed because you're expecting him to do the same things that you're doing. And that's not possible. On the other hand, there may be somebody who loves working and who wants to move up the ladder fast, and he's somebody you relate with or resonate with. So are you going to spend more time on the person who you feel is just like you? Are you going to ignore the person who wants his weekend, who won't answer phone calls after 6:30 p.m., who works on the clock? No, you won't. What you do in this situation is that you identify the qualities and skills that both these individuals have, and then take a call on where is it that you're going to use which person. Like, I have a vice president who works on the clock, comes in at 9:30, leaves at 6:30. And I have an assistant general manager who spends 20 hours a day in office. I have no clue doing what. I have absolutely no clue doing what. Is he counting the chairs, painting the walls? I have absolutely no clue. But that's his working style. He doesn't want to go home for, if you know what I mean. So, I wouldn't say he's lonely. Maybe he wants to be lonely, right? Yeah, probably. And that is where you need to draw a line because, like I said, and I'm going to reiterate that, expectations lead to disappointments. Okay. Empowering employees via voice and engagement. If you don't let your employees give you feedback, they will, in some form or the other. Trust me when I say that. If you feel that having a one-on-one check-in once in 6 months is going to satiate and satisfy your employee, no. Because before your wife, before your mother, your employee is your biggest critic. Why does he walk like that? Why does he talk like that? What is his problem? Why am I getting an appraisal? I got a 3 on my performance review. He's got problems. You've got to deal with it. So your employee is going to criticize you. Trust me when I say this, more than your wife and a lot more than your mother. I mean, I have no right to say this, but nobody in this world can underestimate me and criticize me more than my mother. I mean it when I say that, right? So what do you do in that situation? If you feel that having a one-on-one check-in once in 6 months is going to solve the problem, no. At some point, he'll leave, and then you find an essay on Glassdoor. An essay. And I kid you not. So I'm working with this company called Crossover for work. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's a lot into remote working. And because they work remotely, they track everybody. Like every move is tracked. Like there's a webcam on your computer which takes a picture every 30 minutes. Now imagine you're working from home, you're not wearing anything on top, and they take a picture, right? So, I mean, that's a sight. So I'm working with them on the fact that they have, their Glassdoor reviews. And what we see, or what we're trying to understand is that when these feedback calls happen, you ask them close-ended questions. How would you rate your manager on a scale of 1 to 5? I give him a 3. Okay, that's great. Thank God I got a 3. Nobody wants to know why he gave him a 3. Why not a 4? Why not a 5? When you look at these great place to work surveys, they're all close-ended. They're all close-ended because they don't want to give any employee an opportunity to rant. And that is where the biggest problem is. Because if you don't let them rant here, they're going to go and rant somewhere else. Which is by having open communication. It's not enough to have an open door policy. Open door policy is a myth. You say that we are an open door policy company and there are doors everywhere. It's a myth. Having open communication is extremely important. And that is what's going to make your employees feel valued. I'm sure you won't like the fact that they're criticizing you. And I'm not saying that you need to implement everything that they say. What I'm trying to tell you is listen before, because let them vent it out. Let them just, remove the agitation and frustration in front of you instead of removing it on Glassdoor. Supportive leadership. There's a very thin line between being a good manager and a good leader. There's a very thin line. A good manager is, you do this, you do this, you do this, you do this, and I'm going to make sure you did everything. That's a manager. A good leader is someone who says, you know what, I'm going to do this with you, I'm going to do this with you, I'm going to show you how to do this. You do this, but if you need my help, I'm right here. That's the difference between a manager and a leader. I've attended several leadership development programs, a lot of them with Dale Carnegie in the US, and when they talk about supportive leadership, what they talk about is someone you can count on, someone your people can actually talk to. I'm not meaning to boast, but I know about every relationship that my employees have, both personal and professional, because they know that I don't judge. Who am I to judge? And because I will reiterate, expectations lead to disappointments. So that's something about leadership. I don't want to get into the details of it because I feel you guys are accomplished leaders. Employee recognition and reward. How many of you believe that an employee will only value a recognition or a reward if it has a monetary compensation attached to it? How many of you agree with it? Raise your hand. How many of you agree with it? Raise your hand. I thought so too. In February 2022, I gave an Employee of the Year award. I had one of our promoters fly down from the US, give him an award. We had a grand, celebration. And 2 weeks later, he resigned. Along with the Employee of the Year award, there was a 25,000 dirham approximate value check. And then I sat and wondered, what happened? I just made a fool out of myself. I gave this guy Employee of the Year. Everything was going right. And 2 weeks later, he calls and he says, I'm sorry, I'm not going to work with you. And then I sat and wondered, what happened? So I do some digging. I reach out to his manager, and his manager says, I was having a casual chat with him, and I asked him, these are your tasks. What did you do the entire day? And he said that in the 8-9 hours that I worked today, these are the tasks that I did. And his manager said, that's a lot less tasks in 8 hours. Are you sure you were not just passing time? And that one statement made everything that I did to make that manager feel special feel like shit. Pardon my language, please censor that. I couldn't have fathomed that something like this would have happened, right? It made me look like a fool. But that's when I realized they don't care. What he felt bad about is that, why did you give me Employee of the Year and then you're coming back and criticizing, saying, I'm not doing work. So, yes, some employees will appreciate monetary compensation when you reward or recognize them. But employees that are loyal, who actually want to come to you work every day, who want to be a part of your organization, a pat on the back is enough. Trust me when I say that. A client appreciation is enough. Giving them credit when they deserve is enough, not taking the credit yourself. Sometimes you do the good work and you give them the credit. That is what a leader is. And that is what's important. Like I said, you all know this. I'm just here to remind you. Continuous improvement and learning. You are what you constantly do, which makes excellence not an act, but a habit. I will repeat. You are what you constantly do, which makes excellence not an act, but a habit. Practice what you preach. If I'm going to come here and talk about A, B, C, D, E, and I'm not going to be able to practice that, I have no right to preach. No one's going to listen to me. No one's going to listen to me at work. If I'm not fair, unbiased, non-judgmental, people are not going to listen to me. Obviously, you can't keep everybody happy, but at least you try to. Conclusion. Time's up. Press delete to reset, escape to exit. Yes, I will. Conclusion. The conclusion is, if you feel that you are the only person who's important in your company, you're wrong. And at the same time, if you make your employee feel that he's the only important person in the company, you're still wrong. The conclusion is that you need to sometimes take difficult decisions, but take your team with you. Acknowledge that they exist. Acknowledge that they exist. Do you know that if you meet someone for once in your life and you remember their name, they'll have a significant impact. If you were a boss of a big company and you have 40, 50 employees, do you know that your employees crave more attention from you than their girlfriends or their wives? And that is what engagement is all about. Not those fancy parties that you throw, get everybody drunk, have them vomit all over the place, and then the next day you come in and forget like anything ever happened. That's not how it works. So with that, I'm going to end my time. Thank you so much for giving me an additional 5 minutes. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them. Thank you very much. Yeah, does anybody have any questions or any reminders they need? No? Like I said, you all know what you have to do. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you.